Hi, this is Keith with Total Seal Piston Rings, and here to present to you during the Performance Engine Expo is a little information, and we'll call it the unboxing party of the Mitutoyo SJ210. A lot of profilometers out there, a lot of different brands, a lot of different models. This has been the best bang for the buck unit that we've found so far. I'm sure there's others out there that are great, but we're going to talk a little bit about this one right now. For those interested, it is a model number 178-561-02A. This has the right size stylus for working with cylinders. There are other models out there, but this is the one that we have found to be the most versatile. I've already cut the box open, so we've simply got the tab. I cut the tape. Kind of had this already ready to go. And out we come. Got the carrying case with the 210. Charger. Power cord for the charger. We have the actual stylus, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Strap. The extension cord for the detector, so you can remove it from the unit. Calibration reference. And the little stand for doing the calibration. And something that a lot of people miss, because they really don't see it in there, is the clear plastic protector for the screen. I have my own charger, so I don't have to unpackage these. So I'm going to set this aside. And we're going to start off with the basic unit itself. Mitutoyo SJ210. First thing we're going to want to do is pop the little back end cover off. So when we get it, we're going to take that switch and we're going to switch it to the battery on position. And of course at that point we're going to take it, plug it in so we can charge the battery up. You just heard it. Very important that the battery stays charged. We're going to make some changes in this particular unit. We're going to change it from the default parameters to the way we need it to be set. And it'll stay that way. It'll keep those parameters as long as you don't let that battery go really dead. And so, keep it charged up. Charge it up every couple of weeks. We've got, let me get a better look here, RS-232 communication port, SBC port, but two ports you'll probably look at. Micro SD memory card slot, so you can actually put a memory card in this unit, save the data, record the data, load it to the card, and then you can take that data and dump it to your computer. Using the Mitutoyo communication software. That's available on their website for free. You also have the USB port. So at the same time, you can do the same thing in a live manner. If you have this plugged into your computer, laptop out by the home, desktop, whatever you're using, same thing. You'll have to have the Mitutoyo communication software loaded, but you can have that plugged into your computer and actually be saving the data. So first things first, we've got it switched into battery mode. We've got it plugged in, so we're charging the battery. We can go ahead and power it up. This is what you're going to see coming out of the box. So what we're going to do, the very first thing I do with these is calibrate the unit. So what we're going to need is I'll call it the stand, for the lack of a better term. We're going to need the calibration reference. And this is not the calibrating surface, by the way. We open it up. This is our calibration reference. This one's a 116 RA, which is the most common one. I've seen these as low as 112. I've seen them as high as 119. 116 is the most common. So I've got my calibration reference. Got it on my platform or stand. I've got my stylus, or my detector, whichever you want to call it. This bag is actually sealed when you get it. I've already taken the liberty of cutting it off and opening it up. This is the stylus. As Lake will probably zoom in, there's a small little diamond, kind of like a needle on a record player sticking out. I'll give you the precaution on this thing. These are pretty expensive. You want to treat this thing like it is, something expensive. We don't want to drop it. We don't want to bounce it off the floor. I had a gentleman yesterday whose machine kept reading over range. I walked it through him on the phone, and we deduced that this was bad, and he actually found a little dent in it where somebody had dropped it. When we're checking our cylinders, we want to make sure the cylinder's clean. It doesn't have to be hospital theater sterile, but clean. Brake cleaner, lacquer thinner, whatever you like, clear solvent, wash it out, wipe it out. We want to make sure it's a nice, clean environment. This does not like oil being put in it. Treat it like it is. It's an expensive part. We want to treat it like an expensive part. So, turning the profilometer over, again, I don't know the exact Mitutoyo nomenclature, but this is what I like to call the hand tool. This part is detachable from the machine. It unplugs. We have an extension cable. Simple, not as simple as it looks. Male-female connections so that we can extend this out and get it out of the machine for using it in cylinders. But for the moment, I'm just going to plug it back in. It's a spring-loaded latch right there. I'm going to take it, put it in, push it in, lock it. There's a little latch right there. You can see that. We got, again, male-female connections. Installed, make sure it's nice and seated. Seat it, make sure it's good and seated down. So we're going to take this, set it on our reference tool, and we're going to calibrate the unit. So now we're going to go into the menu. Obviously we've got the little slide down door. If you hadn't caught that already, we're going to open the door. This exposes the controls or buttons. And we're going to start off with the enter menu. Enter menu and escape. These are your primary tools, we'll call it here. So enter menu. We're going to arrow up to calibrate measurement. We're going to hit enter. Now in this case, as I said earlier, this reference of 116, these machines come default at 116, and we're simply going to hit the start stop button. As you can see, it's making a trace. Okay, so we've got a 116 reference. The machine read it as a 114. So we need to tell it, nope, that's not right. We're going to come to the red button. We're going to update. So it understands it's off a little bit. It's going to correct. So let's just check it again. We'll give her another trace. One of the things you have to understand is these things never read exactly the same thing twice. You're going to move it around in a bore. It might read a little bit different here. It might read a little bit different there. So we have to kind of look at averages a little bit. You know, if it's 116 in one spot and it's 114 in another and 115 and change over here, that's perfectly normal. But if it reads 115 here and 22 over there, that's a problem. And same thing when you're calibrating. If for some reason when you calibrate and you've got a 116 reference and it reads a 24, a 45, there's something wrong. More than likely, there's a problem with the stylus. That's what I've almost always seen. So as you can see right now, 116.14, 116.55, I think we're in great shape. So we've done that. We're going to escape back out. Now we're going to go in and start setting up some parameters in the machine. They do not come set to do what we want it to do out of the box. These things, of course, have 1,000 different functions they can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to arrow down. We're going to start off in measured condition. So we're going to arrow down one to measured condition. We're going to hit enter. We're going to have setting, as you can see, is in dark blue. We're going to hit enter. And first thing we're going to do is arrow down to parameters. We want to change the parameters. We're going to hit enter. As you can see, the ones highlighted in red, those are the things that are turned on. And as you can see, there's lots of things this thing can measure. We've got RA, RZ, RPK, RT. We can measure waviness. You can measure R max. There's a lot of things this thing can measure. MR1, MR2, the Abbott Firestone curve. There's a whole lot of things this thing will do. But we're going to set it up to do, we'll say, some basic numbers that most people can relate to working with cylinders. We're going to go with RA, arithmetic average of roughness. I generally leave that turned on for the people wanting to measure deck surfaces, head surfaces, housing board surfaces, we can actually turn on what's referred to as RK, which is peak to valley height. This is a more modern number that's being supplied by the gasket people. This is kind of the tooth, how much tooth it has. But in our case, we're going to arrow over to RQ. We're going to turn that off. As you can see, it turned white. We're going to go over to RZ. We're going to turn that off. As you saw, it turned white. I'm going to arrow down to the bottom row, arrow over, RK, I want to turn that on, red, RPK, I want that on, red, RVK, I want that on, red again. So I now have RA, RK, RPK, RVK, all turned on. I'm going to arrow down to lambda, or Alpha Charlie. For those that want to read it that way, I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to go down and set it to 0.1. What we're doing here is setting the segment length and cutoff length, how much data we're trying to measure, and we want to grab as much as we can. We want to take the biggest picture possible. We're going to hit enter. That takes me back to the measure condition screen. It should automatically set the cutoff length to 5. It is. If for some reason yours isn't, you can enter that screen. We can change the lengths, but again, we want it to be 5. So I'm just going to escape back out to 5. So we now have 4 parameters, lambda at 0.1, cutoff at 5. That portion of the machine, we're good to go. So we're going to escape back out of screen. We're going to hit that twice. Now we're going to go down to setting up the environment, the running conditions. There's a whole lot of things you can set up in here. We're just going to go over some basics. So, I'm going to arrow back up to the top. Normally it'll start off right at the top, but as you already discussed, I've been in here kind of messing around with this one. So typically it'll start off at date and time. You can come in, set the year, date, time, whether you want it to read the year format, month format, however you want it to read. So that's something I usually set up before they go out the door, but that's kind of your call. Data output. How do we want to do it? Do we want it just to read out of the SPC port, to printer, data storage? Do we want to save it to a drive? How do we want to save our data? We can select how we want to keep that data if we want to keep that data. We're going to arrow down. If you wanted to put a micro SD memory card in there, we can stop at memory card. We can come in. There is no card, so it reads not inserted. If you had a card in there, the machine will allow you to format the card. I've not seen a card off the shelf that's pre-formatted to work in these machines. So if you do buy a micro SD memory card, please remember you have to format it in the machine itself. We're going to arrow down to the auto sleep function. You keep seeing the screen graying out. That is part of the auto sleep function. So we're going to go into auto sleep. Auto sleep's on. This is what saves your battery power. But right now it's set at 30-second time. So we're going to arrow down to wait time to 30 seconds. Enter. And we're going to change that. I set them to run for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to arrow over, as you saw, to the left, up to 3. I mean, you can set it for 5.5 minutes if you like, but I'm just being kind of picky. So to 300 seconds. Enter. I've now changed it to a 5-minute wait time. We're going to hit the escape button again, take us back a screen. There's auto sleep. I hit escape again, took me back to the main menu. And I'm going to arrow down 1 to screen change. Enter. Right now the screen is displaying as 1 vertical. And let me show you how this changes how the machine looks. I can hit enter, take it down to 4 horizontal, enter, escape twice, and now I have my 4 settings all reading on 1 screen. So you don't have to page. If we left it as 1, you have to hit the page button to read each one. The machine will actually allow you to see the actual crosshatch. Now it's probably going to read an error, but let's run that profile real quick. So what you're seeing right now is the machine is actually reading that reference piece. You're seeing what the profile is, and the machine is set to automatically scale the reading. As you saw initially, very large peaks, but it's saying, whoa, this is a fairly rough piece. I need to close this down a little bit so we can get that better picture. So it will auto scale, and that again is something you can change. You can set it to not auto scale. You can set it fixed, but right now it's simply measuring that piece and scaling down. So now it read 115.46. We know it's a 116. Because it is so rough, it's throwing error codes on the other numbers. It's out of their range. But we can come in, see what the profile looked like. We can look at the bearing area curves, MR1s, MR2s. These are all the parameters that you can set on this machine. You can actually send your printout, your readout, and it will show you all those. And now we've got a cylinder. Any way you look at it, it's big. I can't say 5 3/4, 6 inch. She's a big one. But you can't see it. But Lake, who just got all gooed up, and myself, this thing is covered in goo. So in this case, got a little brake cleaner. Like we said before, we want a nice clean surface. Get all that nastiness out of there. And before I do this, I want to show something. This is a real interesting tool, or a little add-on that you can get for this thing. It's made by our good friends over at QMP in California, Brad and the guys. Unfortunately, I can't completely show it because this thing's so big. We're going to have Brad make it a new one. But this will go in. It's really great for holding this thing when it's in the cylinder. You can take it in, take it. Hopefully you can see some of that. Spin this up until it positions itself on the opposite side of the cylinder. Holds everything really nice, really stable. You can do this by hand, but you got to make sure you don't slip. If you move, you slip, you're going to trigger a false reading, and we don't want that. So this is a really handy tool. So we've got it in, we've set it in the bore, and we're ready to go. So we're just going to simply hit the start-stop button. Right now it's retracting the stylus. There's some people that think you actually slide the whole unit up and down. You don't do that. It's motorized, kind of does it on its own. And we're getting a trace of this nice diesel cylinder. And as you can see, this has actually got a pretty decent finish on it. It's got a very reasonable amount of plateau to it. It's got good valley depth. You can see the lines coming down showing the valleys. That's your plateau, or RPK. We're going to scroll back through. And better flip that around. That's a little backwards. Hopefully you can see that. So we've got an RA of a 25, RK of a 44, RPK of a 12. And let's see if I can get that to come back up. And an RVK of a 74. So this is really pretty decent, especially for a replacement or factory type cylinder. Decent peak number, great valley number, good core number. So that's some basic use of the profilometer in checking the holding tool. So hopefully that helps. That's we'll say the basic walkthrough of the Mitutoyo SJ210 on reading, setting up, calibrating. And as always, if you have any questions, because this is just measuring the work, but how do you get the finishes? Well, we've worked diligently with our customers, and especially with the good folks at Rottler. We can help you out, figure out how to get to where you need to be with these numbers. So as always, feel free to reach out to us. Have a great day.
Welcome back to the Engine Performance Expo. Joe Costello, Lake Speed, joined by Tim Allen. Tim from Liberty Performance. Tim, we got a whole bunch of great high performance parts out here on the table, and Lake has informed me that our engine, the LS that we're building here today,
the cylinder heads
right here. That is very cool. So you are involved. Were you disappointed that Lake ruined the engine? No, it's just a joke. I'm just zinging him.
We had to blame it on someone.
Exactly.
He's always the most convenient.
I am.
At the first and forefront.
He does play that role a little bit.
Yes.
I'm piling on,
Yes.
but it's just for fun.
Yeah. It's all good.
It's out of love.
Yeah.
Got thick shoulders.
You do.
Yep.
You do. Broad and thick shoulders. But tell us a little bit about this, Tim, in that you kind of have a unique position in that you sell to people who sell. Is that the way to say it?
Yes, pretty much. Liberty, it was founded by Armand Mancini. Armand comes from a very distinct automotive background. He grew up around engines. They
had their own engine rebuilding company, right?
Yes, probably the largest on the East Coast.
Right.
At the time, yes. So tremendous amount of background, tremendous amount of knowledge. And he's just surrounded. So we've got a great team, our management team, all of our people. Liberty, basically it's like not so much that we move parts as we supply solutions to the problem. We all know the application issues, availability issues, things that we're facing now. And we take a lot of that, and rather than just the fight of trying to find pieces to get pallets of stuff in and everything, you know, we look for solutions. And we provide a lot of stuff. It's like a lot of our private label stuff, our LPC components, they're proprietary to us. We're not reboxing anyone else's products.
Right.
Our cylinder heads, for example, our aluminum heads, we've got small block Chevy, small block Ford, the LS platform, we've got a cathedral port, a square port, big block Chevy. That's all ours. Our crankshaft line, our forged crankshafts, our connecting rods, a lot of other our components, it's proprietary to us.
Right.
So we've got quality control of it. You know, it helps us to be able to get parts into our customers' hands and provide solutions for them to try to be able to get product done up and out the door.
Right. And how many locations do you guys have around the country?
We currently have 6.
6
locations.
Primarily on the East Coast, but you can ship anywhere.
We can ship anywhere. We have overnight shipping coverage of the entire East Coast, probably almost to the Mississippi.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. We can get it in and out.
And just to make sure for people who aren't shop owners that are watching, that you don't sell to the end user necessarily. You sell to the shops.
We don't sell to our customer's customer.
Right. Exactly.
You know, but if anyone calls, we actually have a website. It's libertyperformance.com, where you can go on. You can see all of our private label components, and we don't have all of the brands that we carry on there. But you can see the products. You get an idea of the pricing. We've got all the listings, the details as far as the materials, you know, be it 4340, 2024, whatever. You know, it's a fully loaded, very descriptive. Anyone can go to that.
Right.
And if they contact us, you know, we can send them to the nearest dealer that buys from us, and they can get products straight from them.
Right. And your dealers, the guys who are engine shops that buy from you, they can buy your private label products. Or you can buy Total Seal or Comp or Mala.
Yes.
I mean, everybody that's here, that's part of this, you guys are the people who distribute our products to the end users.
Exactly. Like I say, it's, you know, we're in the job to supply solutions. For example, like, you know, with everything, like you said, Total Seal, you know, we've got several sources for piston rings. We have over a dozen lines of pistons. We've got like 10 lines of crankshafts, 8 or 9 lines of connecting rods, and so forth. And with the problems that we all have now you're going to have certain situations like some 305 sprint car engines.
Right.
You're going to have certain limitations as far as like your minimum crankshaft weight, rod length, you know, crown configuration of piston, something like that. But outside of those, you know, any type of street car, all the way up to big cubic inch, you know, Pro Mod engines, things of that nature, you know, we can come up and help the customer get the product done out the door, you know, because it's like, okay, well, we're using this stroke, we need this rod, we need this piston. Well, that might not be available, but we can usually turn around and find, okay, well, we can change the compression height on this piston. This rod is available, so they can still get it, do it up, out the door, and somebody's making horsepower.
Right, because you have all those connections to be able to pull from here and there and there and there.
Options to more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes,
exactly. You end up in the same place, but you got there a different way. And I was just looking at some of the connecting rods here. Like, this is a very nice.
This is one of our new Extreme Series rods. This is a 4340 billet. Again, that's proprietary to us. They all come standard with the ARP L19 fasteners. Those rods are good up to about 1,600 horsepower.
Ooh, all right.
And they're all ours. Some of the other products, again, the cylinder head is ours. We've got some of our rocker arms here. That's our Extreme Series. That is a 4340 forged steel. This is our aluminum, the 2024 The center, that is our stainless. That's for an LS, but we have those for LS platform, small block Chevy, big block Chevy, small block Ford. But like the Pro Series, the Extreme Series, those will handle up to 850 pounds of open spring pressure.
That's nice.
So we can build the cover here. This is our Valley cover.
Tray, yep.
Yeah, for the LS.
Very
That's
nice.
ours. That's made for us. Billet aluminum.
Anodized. It's nice.
Yes, we've got it for the Gen 3 and Gen 4 LSs. That is our LS, our billet timing pointer. Again, most of this is LS stuff because that's about the most popular platform out there today. Everybody's building those things. But again, we have that for small block Chevy, small block Ford, big block Chevy. We've really it's been a challenge, but it's been an exciting year for us because we see a lot of the holes in availability and things that the manufacturers are having difficulty with. So we stepped up. One great example: our crankshaft line. We have our own 4340 forged cranks. They're all nitrided pieces. We have added the new late model Hemi to it. We've added several different stroke links on big block Mopar. We've also added a Pontiac crank, a 4 1/4 stroke Pontiac crankshaft. We've got big block Fords now that we've added, the 385 series engines like 429, 460s. We've added new small journal 2-inch crank pin to our small block Chevys. And we've also, in conjunction with that, we've added to our the small journal rods to our Extreme, our billet line.
Nice. So do you have stuff for domestic, obviously has a lot of domestic stuff, about import stuff too?
We've got you, Liberty has you covered all the way across. We've got everything from, we do marine, we do sport compact, we do diesel, and we do diesel whatever you're doing. If it's OE replacement rebuild, we've got competition pieces on the shelf for truck pulls.
Nice.
Big
boosted stuff.
Just big boosted stuff, the whole 9 yards. Like say marine. We even have we've got a large selection. We can help a lot of the over the road people with in-frame rebuild kits. So
didn't know that.
if there's ever a question about a component, call us.
So it's Liberty engine parts, and apparently you guys have a lot of engine parts.
We have a lot of engine parts, and if there's ever a question, call us.
Yeah,
we'll find it.
It's what
we do.
And that's peace of mind. No, it's great that you got such a wide variety. Tim, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're having a good time here at the Engine Performance Expo. How about that? Just like rapid fire information. You're getting so much information, but when we're not on the air, like what are you going to do to get information, to increase your knowledge base and like think about this stuff? The good news is we've got that all figured out.
Yeah, we have a ton of educational resources that you can tap into when you're not watching the Engine Performance Expo. So stay tuned and watch this video.
The Engine Performance Expo rolling along here with Ben and Lake. Guys, when I think about like education, it all costs a lot, right? Typically. Except for the Engine Performance Expo, which is free.
Pretty unbelievable value.
Absolutely. To get what you're getting and all this different insight. But once they exhaust all the videos, the countless videos that you can go back in the archive and watch, multiple editions of the Engine Performance Expo, there are some other things that are low cost that are a great way to at least keep your mind sharp and keep on the cutting edge. Let's talk about some of them.
Well, one of my favorite things, we've mentioned it in here before, Race Engine Technology magazine. I think this subscription is like $180
for the whole year.
For the whole year.
Yeah, and they do have some discounts available if you ask about them. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but this, to me, this is what we all read cover to cover, is like.
This is sort of the high-end motorsports. Like, this is where the cool stuff is being shared. Maybe not where it's happening, but where it's really being shared. But it's a way to do ongoing learning, right? Like, so many times when you go to a seminar like we do, or you binge watch a bunch of episodes, your brain only retains so much, right? So with this thing sitting on your coffee table or next to your toilet, you have the ability to like learn ongoing all the time with it. So amazing resource there.
Quick anecdote. Somebody, and I won't say who, and I don't know who, decided to leave one of these in the media center at an NHRA drag race. And I was like, whose is that? And they're like, oh. So it became mine. Because I know this is a big deal.
It is.
They've done some bits on nitro engines that I'm out at the NHRA all the time. I learned a lot through the magazine.
Yeah, they did a Pro Stock Engine Expo a couple years ago that was pretty awesome as well. So
they've done NASCAR stuff. F1 engines. I mean, it's amazing. This you got to have it. Right?
that
If you're really serious, get the subscription. It's totally worth it. And then, Engine Professional magazine. I mean, Chuck Lynch, who's a contributor here, part of the whole thing. I mean, Chuck writes a bunch of articles in there. Another great industry resource.
Huge wealth of knowledge from the engine repair and machining side going on over there too. Crazy.
Exactly.
Crazy value.
Like torque specs, all kinds of different things. And they have updates in there for service bulletins.
Yep.
So
common problems that people are
Yes.
experiencing, and so staying on top of that, again, super low cost, easy, no brainer recipe for knowledge.
And of course, AERA has a ton of webinars.
Mm-hmm.
Usually about one a month is about the schedule, and they're completely free, whether you're a member or not.
What an incredible value.
Well, digital, right? Everything's digital.
Yep.
Everybody wants to go digital, everything. And no, not necessarily. Sometimes I think there is great value, like Lake has something in front of him called a book.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
many
Heard of
people
them.
for generations learned everything they knew from
books.
Yep.
Yeah.
and they are still of great value.
Oh, and this is a great one because we've talked so much in all 3 episodes so far of the Engine Performance Expo about surface finish. And to me, this is the missing hidden variable in most equations that we don't measure often enough and we don't think about enough. And Dr. Mark Marburg, who's a friend of ours, has written this wonderful book, which is an answer book.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is you don't have to read the whole book cover to cover. If you have a question, you can go find your question and then go right to the page where the answer is.
A couple of things I like about this book. First of all, it's not designed so that you have to read it from the front to the back, right? So you don't have to have like a month to get through it so you can gain knowledge from it. It's kind of broken up so you could just go, like you said, it's an answer book, and I have a question about X. I can go right to that spot in the book and get the answer. But more importantly, the book is written so that you didn't have to have a PhD to understand all the terminology and the stuff they're talking about.
Great point.
I think that was a really game changer for me when I got the first copy of the book. For me, I started reading and I'm like, oh my gosh, go to chapter 6. Oh my gosh, it was just like on and on. I was like learning at this really accelerated pace because it was relatable and understandable without being a doctorate level education.
Like a reference. And
Absolutely.
You don't have
lawyers,
to Google words to figure out what they mean.
Well, you think about lawyers, right? They've got all kinds of case study up on their shelves. They get a case, they think, oh, how does this relate to what I need to do? They go to the book, they find out, they go back, they refresh. You're not expected to carry every piece of information with you at all times in your brain. That's what these are for. And I think it's great. And anybody that's trying to expand their what they're capable of doing, has to rely on these.
Yeah, because like you said, you can't store enough things in your brain, and you get to a certain age where you're putting stuff in this side and it's falling out that side, right? So the storage, how much memory is left, that's not going away. That's not going anywhere. You can always go back straight to your bookshelf, pull it off, go to that chapter 4 or 7, whatever it was, get the answer you need, and go right back to work.
No, excellent.
Yeah, you don't have to know all the answers. You just got to know where the answers are.
That's right.
Just got to know where the answers are. And where did you learn that? At the Engine Performance Expo, which is free, and I got to love it. Now, you're learning about engines, which require parts. Parts, very important. I think we're going to have a little parts seminar coming up, roundtable discussion.
Yes, we are. Speaking of parts, so one of the other digital resources you can get is ePartrade. So it's another place to go look at a bunch of parts, and they have free webinars as well.
This free is a common term that we keep hearing.
It's so easy to access things that are valuable right now. And then, I'm going to plug it for you. So there's a group called Delta Lambda.
Pretty cool.
Which is an online learning group. It's my bookmark from my book where I learn things. So it's an online support group. Help explain.
Yeah, Delta Lambda is the brotherhood, right? So the idea was from EFI University, a lot of guys came to our school, and then they left the school, and like we were talking about, they couldn't remember every single thing that they learned.
Right.
So we created a fraternity. We created a community where they could pay a subscription monthly, and then on a weekly basis, we learn new subjects, new topics, then we have Zoom calls, and it's really about the community, though. It's different than going to a school where you have a teacher and a bunch of learners. The entire community is both teacher and learner at the same time.
Yes.
So it's a really terrific group of people, and we have a great time with it. We all learn from it, and it's just an amazing resource.
I can't imagine the debates right? Because not everybody agrees on this
For sure.
information. Like, this is not like, okay, receive information, not everybody agrees on everything.
And that's delicate
that
at times because some of the members are even in competitive, race teams. We have guys from the NASCAR world, from NHRA world, and sometimes not only do they not agree, but they're competing against each other. So to have an environment where they feel comfortable to converse and talk and share that is accessible to everybody is pretty amazing. There's not a lot like the
there's nothing
EFIU
like
fraternity
this.
going on out there. You can find out about it on the website if you want, EFI101.com. But it's not a high-pressure, sales pitchy type of group. It's really a community.
It is. It's fantastic. I'm a member. It's one of the things
Billy's
I look forward to doing.
Kazi, from last year, he's a member. George Bryce is a member.
Yep.
I mean, it's an amazing fraternity of people.
Some people join country clubs and chase around a little white ball. Others,
join fraternities. That's
join
right.
fraternities and battle it out.
So we thought Delta Lambda was a pretty clever play on words. Change in Lambda.
Yep.
What we're trying to do is just help each other learn.
Yep. Well, I think that's what this whole deal is about. And one thing that we've learned over the past couple of years is that once upon a time, nobody wanted to help anybody learn.
Yep.
Right.
Like everybody kept the information to themselves, and now, whatever has caused this sea change, everybody in this industry wants to help each other learn and get up to speed, and it seems like it's a much better way.
It's definitely a more mature approach to learning, right? So in the past, it was so much of like what we know is just for us to know, but I think a lot of, especially race teams, found out that by not sharing information, they were restricting their ability to go beyond what they knew and learn more, right? And so when students come to us all the time, I say, what we learn should always exceed what we've been taught. And so the only way we're going to do that is with conversation, and the power of conversation is amazing, and that's what this produces.
Right.
So.
And that's the perfect segue to the next session, which we're going to have a bunch of parts manufacturers get together to have a unscripted
roundtable
conversation about what's going on with part supply right now, so people can have knowledge and insight of what can I expect? What's the right thing to tell my customer? How do I need to manage my supply chain right now? Because it's an ongoing issue.
Ongoing, improvise, adapt, overcome. Let's throw it to the parts supply chain roundtable where there will be a great conversation.
What a day, what a day, what a day. My brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.